What's going on, people? So, been a while since I've done one of these little YouTube live things or whatever. Got to make sure this here thing actually pops up first before I go get into things. And do that. I haven't watched a lot of YouTube in a while, and I haven't done much of it in even longer. So, just trying to get back into the swing of things because it is about that time to do that. And so that looks like it's fine. Looks like the video quality is decent. So, yeah, cool. So, typical things, right? Oh, look at that. There's BX. Where, how did you get here so quickly? Like this thing just started. That's that's weird to me. It's like you were ready. Like you were only watching my particular YouTube channel page thing and jumped right in as soon as it happened. Which is cool. I appreciate it. Though I do question why you don't have better things to do. But you can answer that if you'd like, or we can just leave that as a mystery of the universe. So, as I often do, I talk every so often. You're a fan. I'm a fan of you, and I appreciate that. I talk every so often about the shoes that I wore over the last month because sometimes that just makes sense. More so when I'm doing like follow ups of things that I haven't talked about a whole lot, right? So this month, there's some stuff that's new, some things that I haven't worn in a while, and there's some things that I wear regularly, right? So it's a decent split, but let's go ahead and get this thing done. I'm here watching the grass grow. Yes, yes, that is a fancy way of saying this is boring, and I get it, but it provides background noise for people, right? That's what I've learned over my how long? 4 years, right? Yeah, I'm coming up on my 4 year mark because 2019. So, yeah, January 21st, 2019 was the first video that I put up. And if you ever go back and look, you'll see a lot of my videos were released. A lot of videos were released that day because figured if anybody stumbles across the channel, I want them to see more than one video so they think that this is like a real channel, right? It seemingly worked. Okay, so first up, right, this here has been one of my favorite things since I first got my first pair and still is. It just kind of sucks that Nike kind of just doesn't really make them anymore. This is the React Vision, right? The Desert Oasis colorway. And it's funny because like when I bought these, nobody really cared about them. But eventually, I guess once Nike was trying to get rid of the ones they had, then everybody started buying them and started watching the videos. So that was kind of cool. But yeah, they're a pretty solid gym shoe. They've got the nice React cushioning and all that good stuff. So it's like a little more firm than like a lot of the Boost was at that time. And they got like a better feel in the upper and compared to like a lot of the other React shoes that just felt like Prestos or things where it's just like loose. This feels like it's got like an actual structure to it. Even when you look on the inside, it's got like that piece on there where, kind of like holds the tongue down to like the actual rest of the shoe. So very nice overall, right? If you can find a pair, I mean, I think they still have some that just haven't sold yet or whatever. Something to consider, right? And the price wasn't bad. I just don't know why they didn't catch on, but they didn't. So whatever. Oh, the actual grass in the backyard. Oh, okay, cool. I got you. Yeah, I don't really have much of a backyard because I live in an apartment. Maybe one day I'll be like you and have like a real home or house or condo, whatever you live in. I'll have one of those maybe. This is a 997H, right? I don't know what the H stands for, but whatever. Kind of a South Beach sort of colorway. These aren't bad, not at all. They're super cheap, which is cool, and was actually one of my first New Balances, right? I say one of my first because I bought this pair and another pair at the same time, and I wasn't really sure which one I liked the most, which is why I bought them both. But as far as comfort goes, like they may not be anything you're gonna run out and talk about, like those last things or something, but you can't really go wrong with them. I mean, for all day wear, they're definitely gonna hold their ground. So I do appreciate that. And this particular color is pretty all right to me. Let's see. Reminds me of the Stewie LeBron. I will have to take your word on that because I can't think of what those look like. I do vaguely remember them though. And you live in a shed. Oh, well, that's probably cost effective, but it's a step above homelessness, and that sounds awful. Let's see. EW says those are fire, 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 he says. So that's cool. Like, so is that like a scale of like 1 to 5? Like, so these are a 3 out of 5? Like, how many fires does the scale go up to? That's my question, right? I never really know because some people put a whole bunch of them, some people put one. Everybody's got their own say. This, this is not a shoe that I was a fan of, right? I like a lot of the things about these, like from the previous Vapor Max. This is the Vapor Max 2020, right? The previous Vapor Maxes, they adjusted the bubbling, right? So these are like, they're shorter. They have like a different sort of layout down there. They're a little more connected in some ways, whereas the last ones were just like little blocks and stuff. So all in all, like all the stuff they did down here, thumbs up all around, right? It was like there was no break in time. They felt better overall. I was like, this is cool. And then this happened, right? This here thing, like, it's got like you pull that to like lock it, right? Maybe you heard those like clicks and stuff. You pull that and it releases it. So this block here is terrible because if you're running in these, it is not good to have a big block of plastic on the top of your foot where your foot is trying to flex and bend and whatnot. These ridges here, also very stiff. They feel like, I think I compared it to like those fingernail file things, just like stuck into your shoe. So also not super comfortable. This whole thing, it's kind of cool, right? But I'd rather have more of a functionality friendly shoe than a cool little feature, right? So it is what it is. I just couldn't be a fan of it, but they did get things right the next year when they did the 2021s, which just had normal lacing, right? But yeah, 2020 was not the year for the Vapor Max, unfortunately. I do like the color though. The black and the white. It's kind of decent in a lot of cases. Let's see. A step above homelessness. Yeah, I said it and I'll stand by it. Okay, saying BX. This guy says EW. Touchdown Vikings. Okay, that's cool for them. Good job. Way to play football. So this is the Vapor Max. Was it the Vapor Max Flyknit 3, right? Yeah, Vapor Max Flyknit 3. For some reason, I couldn't remember how that name was laid out. Digital Pink was a women's only release, right? Which you could probably guess because it's like super pink, and a lot of pink shoes are generally like released under the women name, labeling, whatever. So this is kind of like I was talking about. See how these are just like all separated and they're all like large and clunky? Yeah, that last pair, that's where the improvements came in. But this, as far as an upper overall, like this one wins easily because I still don't care much for the Vapor Max 2020 or 21 when it comes to running because the upper, that recycled nonsense they used, it kind of sucks. It's just trash in a lot of ways. And I say that, and I can say that because it's true, because recycled stuff is generally like stuff that was trash at one point, right? Let's call it what it is, people. But this was like the last really good Vapor Max as far as like uppers go, in my opinion. So maybe one day they'll like combine this upper with like that lower and make something amazing. Or they'll just keep doing what they're doing and releasing things that are like passable. So, is that salmon or pink? That is digital pink. It's a totally different color. Totally different. That Air Max has the same bottoms as the 2021. It does not, actually. I just like gave a whole thing about that. There are reviews in depth on both. And actually, if you just watch my Vapor Max 2020 review, there's a comparison to the previous Vapor Maxes. You'll see the differences there if you'd like. So, a little while ago, this morning, I was listening to Anthony Levine's podcast, right? Because that's the thing that I do. And from time to time, he's talking about like his little sneaker regrets and such and whatnot. I was thinking like, from his years of collecting, do you guys have any like regrets in that sort of world? Because I mostly don't. I will say I do have a couple, but like they're like mostly personal things. One of them is definitely like that having bought a solid number of shoes over the years, it makes it easier to buy more shoes. I get a little quicker to pull the trigger, It's like, oh, what's that? Oh, I like purple. Yeah, let's buy those, right? Oh, what's that? Oh, that's got a cool design. Yeah, let's get those too. Years ago, I was just more like, do I want this? I don't know. Maybe not. Let me go do something else and I'll think about it. Nowadays, it's just like, that's me clicking the mouse, just buying stuff, right? Or tapping on the phone sometimes because that also works. But yeah, it's been an interesting. How long's it been? 7 years that I've been buying these shoes and such. And yeah, it's not been all downs, it's not been all ups, but it's been a decent enough layout to where I feel like it's pretty steady, pretty level. So nothing really to complain about. But I'm curious where you guys stand on that. Let's see. BX Vikings, they're the something NFL. Just OG, hello to you. This right here came out at some point the second week of, this was November shoes, obviously, of November, because it got a little rainy one day, and so I needed something for that, right? But I do like to be comfortable even still, so that's why I pull out these, right? This is the utility or winter utility, whatever you want to call it, Air Max 97. I do have a pair of these in green, where basically like the green is where the tan is on those, and I think there's like a little dark gray or something where this little orange strip is. I don't know, but either way, those were one of my more liked things of 2019. And I picked these up, I want to say 2020, because I wanted to complete that little set or whatever. And they work out very well for what they're made to do. They don't feel like as overall comfortable as an Air Max 97, like a standard Air Max 97. But I think that's to be expected because, again, look at all that, right? It's not all that like knitted nonsense and stuff. This is like some straight up like rugged outdoor wear, not like Cordura or Gore-Tex or whatever, but still, it's going to hold its own against like all the puddles and whatnot, right? So you got that going on. So it does what it's supposed to do. It totally does, and I super appreciate that. Now, moving along. These aren't bad for the weather either. Like if it's raining or whatever, because they got this plastic sort of thing going on, so they just kind of like run right off. So that's very cool. The Vapor Max thing, again, mixed results for different people or whatever. I totally get that, right? What I am not a fan of is like this piece up here. You can kind of tell there's not really much as far as like ankle support or whatever. So like no matter how much you tighten these, like it's still gonna be like super loose at the top. So I don't really like that piece of it. But this, the screen green, I think is what they called it, or was it electric green? Some kind of green that they called this. I saw these in a store and I bought them on the spot. I was like, yep, this is happening. This whole quick pull the trigger sort of thing I talked about. Yeah, that certainly came into effect this day. But I do really like this color. I just overall really dislike this particular model. This is the VaporMax 2019, for those of you who don't know. But yeah, it was, I don't know, it just wasn't the greatest thing. They did make that Bordeaux type of color that I like as well, but it's just as a model, it's just not really good, you know? And they just feel weird, you know, because again, the whole plastic upper thing. So it is what it is. You know, they can't all be winners, but as long as they're not terrible, I guess that makes it fine, right? Let's see. I don't own any Air Max 97s. Well, you live in a shed also, so maybe your life isn't exactly where it needs to be. So you might want to give that some thought, right? Just something to consider. I like those 97s. I also like those 97s. Electro green? I mean, it could be. Go ahead and give a search to the Air Max 97s or look at my Air Max 97 playlist or my Air Max playlist. Either one. Both have the same stuff in it in some ways. Your answer will be in one of them, or actually in both of them. This is an Asics Gel Light 3. Back in 2020, end of 2020, December 2020, I bought my first pair of Asics Gel Light 3s, and I thought, well, I should get some more of these. And now I have like 15 pairs of them. Something ridiculous, right? Actually, you know what? It might be 17 because I don't know if those last two are part of the 15 or if that was in addition to the 15. Either way, I have a good number of pairs of Gel Light 3s, right? And this is definitely one of the topper ones, right? Upper ones, I should say, because topper isn't really a word, I don't think. But either way, I really like this sunflower colorway. It works for me, and it seemingly pulls in the attention of a lot of people and stuff. Because it's, I guess yellow is a common color to like or whatever. But yeah, strangely, these also sold a lot better than any other Gel Light 3 for men's sizing that I've seen in recent times, right? Obviously, the exemptions being like the sneaker freakers and stuff like that. But I'm saying as far as like a straight up just standard release, yeah, I've never seen a Gel Light 3 sell like that. And I'm not trying to make it sound like they sold out like within seconds of going on sale or anything. No, it's just the fact that like they all disappeared within like probably like a week. I would see like some 9.5s on some sites, and then they were just like kind of disappearing, and other sizes were disappearing. It was crazy. Let's see. Let's see. Ouch, I thought we were friends. Well, that's why I can give it to you straight, right? If I was your friend, I would not lie to you, right? And I am your friend, so I'm not gonna lie to you. You want me to lie to you? I mean, if you ask, I guess as a friend, I would do it. But it doesn't seem nice, right? And I like to think I'm a nice guy. I need to be in a sneaker battle. I don't know about all that. Let's see. Iowa color. Yeah, it'll take hours to pick a shoe. No, like the way the questions are generally stated, it's like they're pretty straightforward. It's not just like, oh, go grab a shoe. And it's like, oh man, which one do I want to grab? No, it's like they have questions, they lead you down a certain path. Sometimes very specific, sometimes fairly broad, but still gives you like an idea of what to go for. So anyway, this is the Air Max 1 in the blueprint colorway. It's a premium release according to what's written on the side of the box. And according to these materials here, in my own personal judgment, yeah, it is a premium release for sure. They got this nice suede stuff going on down here, kind of leather type of whatever on the side there. They have like the worst swoosh that I've ever seen over there. I do not like that thing, not one bit. And they have this glow in the dark down on the bottom, right? Let's see if I can make that happen. I don't know, because these been in a box, so usually you got to have stuff out in the actual sunlight so that way you can kind of see. But to some extent, you can kind of get a little bit of it there. If you want the full real deal, obviously I'm going to say watch the review. But it's not because I won't need the views. I don't care about the views. I'm just saying if you want to see if it's like worth buying for yourself and how cool it might look, you might want to look at that review. At least scroll through to the, I don't know, whatever portion would have that in there. Probably the first, I'd say it'd probably be in the first third, because like during the review, not like the personal thoughts and such. So you should be able to find it in the first, like, I don't know, 4 to 5 minutes. Let's see. You have too many shoes. I've seen your collection. That's why I think it would take you a while to choose. No, here's the thing. My stuff's all very, very well organized, right? Like Air Max is in chronologically released order, from like ones to pluses / 98s because they came out around the same time. Then you got the other ones that are like the Vapor Maxes that are kind of their own thing, but still they're all labeled a certain way, right? You got the Asics by themselves, New Balances, right? The Yeezys, the Jordans, the Foamposites, all also broken up. And the Jordans are also in order of like 1 to 12 because I stop at 12. Some people don't know that, but I don't go past 12 personally. So it's really just a matter of thinking like, oh, okay, I need to pull out something that's black. Oh, what's something black? Like, oh, that one's all black. I'll just go to this column and I'll just get these. So it's actually pretty simple, which is why when I do these reviews and I'm gonna do comparison or whatever, yeah, I just go right to what I need. It's like, oh, I think I want to pull out those Vans Where's Waldo's for this one. So then I just go right there and there they are. Yeah. So if you're gonna have a lot of something, you got to be able to get to it, right? I can't just have boxes just everywhere. Some people do that, and more power to you. I can't. This is the Asics Gel Saga 3 in the Sage colorway. This was actually my first ever pair of Asics as an adult man. I may have had a pair in my youth days, unlikely, but I'm going to say this is my first pair. So I saw these through Bobby Sneakers World. He had bought them for like $40 through some kind of sale. And then I missed that sale, and he told me later when they released on the Asics eBay store. I bought them there for like $20, maybe $26 after shipping. And these are very cool. I mean, they're not anything like amazing again as far as like materials and construction and all that stuff, but I can wear them all day and not hate it. My feet don't hate it, I should say. And they've got like a combination of colors that I don't often see. So that's very cool. In a lot of ways, they remind me of the Air Max Dawn. If you've ever seen the Air Max Dawn, maybe you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, they kind of have that sort of vibe to them. Or maybe it's the other way around. Depends on which one really came out first. But I think the Dawn was newer, right? It just has an old look to it. But either way, so there's that for you, right? Let's see. I've heard about the spreadsheet. Well, the spreadsheet doesn't tell me where things are, though. The spreadsheet just gives me some background information on some things, arrival dates and such. Reminds me of like when I'm supposed to, what videos I'm going to record together, you know, when I'm supposed to publish things if not, if I need to keep an idea on that. So either way, going back to what I was saying about like the whole like buying shoes and like how that kind of plays into like if you have any regrets or anything you like about it or whatever, right? So one of the other things that I've been fairly thankful for in this whole little endeavor is that I've gotten pretty good at finding deals, right? So that's been very cool, you know. You got to know where like these discounts are or whatever, or when you can wait on one because that's also important. Because years ago when I was buying some things, right? Like I'd see something and I might think about it for like a day or two, maybe in a week or two, and then I'd buy it. But over time you start to see like what doesn't really move. Like those the Air Max Plus Deluxe, right? It's an Air Max Plus in an Air Max Deluxe colorway. I wanted those like day one. I was like, these are cool and I want them, right? I bought them because I thought like, let me get these, because I've been thinking about it and I'm gonna get them. Yeah, I should have known, like, had I known now what I knew then or whatever, or had I known then what I know now, I wouldn't have bought them like then because they did not move quickly at all. They went to some of the deepest discounts man has ever seen, and I could have saved who knows how much money or whatever, right? And the same thing happens with other things. There was those Blue Lagoon Air Max 2 lights, right? No space between the X and the 2, right? That whole thing. So finding the deals and knowing how to get them or just knowing what you can wait on, that has probably been like one of the biggest things that I'm glad for out of this. But it is what it is. Let's see, I'm terrible at finding deals, says BX. That's because you live in a shed. This right here is the Ultra Boost 19. I can't remember the exact colorway name because sometimes Adidas colorways just have like, it'll say like gray 3 or something like that. So I can't remember the exact colorway of this, but the Ultra Boost 19, like all inclusive, right, all around top to bottom, might just be the best Ultra Boost in my personal opinion, right? They had like a plethora of good colors. They felt fantastic as far as running goes. The prices were pretty decent because they made so many of them, and I guess they probably had a problem selling them all at $180. So they didn't start off all that great though, color wise. But yeah, this overall, I did a review on these, a performance review back when I used to do those things. And I was really into these. And even still, when I pull out a pair or whatever, which isn't so often, yeah, I put them on. Man, this is really nice. So the Ultra Boost 19 is definitely something that if you were around when those were happening and you picked up a couple pair, maybe you feel the same way. Maybe you don't. I don't know. Your opinion is whatever your opinion is, but mine is the one we're talking about because you guys aren't on the air with me. I mean, you could be, I guess. I didn't put the link in the chat, but you do have that option if you ever care to join. Just let me know. But this here, Ultra Boost 19, definitely one of Adidas's best things that they've done in the last like 5 years or something, or however long it's been since I've been buying Ultra Boost shoes. 2016. So yeah. So geez, yeah, 6 years then. So yeah, there's gonna be that. Moving along, this right here, another Vapor Max. This is the Vapor Max 2 in what's this? Gunsmoke Blue Orbit. I think that's what they called it, something like that. So this one right here, I don't know. Like in some ways, I lean towards the Ultra Boost 2 as being like the best one for colorways. There were some really solid Ultra Boost 3s though, right? Or excuse me, Vapor Max 3s. There's some solid Vapor Max 3s, but I think the Vapor Max 2 overall was the one that had the best colors, right? So I don't know. What do you guys think, if you even remember? Since I deal with a lot of those, like the Vapor Maxes and stuff, that's kind of like the cornerstone of my collection, the Vapor Max slash Air Max collection. So that's kind of what I speak most highly of and speak most commonly about. But either way, this one right here, I remember wearing these because it definitely like got some attention from some people that I don't normally talk to. They were like, "Oh wow, well, that's pretty cool," because it's got like this blue and like I guess it's got this pink that kind of pops out and grabs attention or whatever. And they're super comfortable, which people can't really tell that, but I guess they have a look that makes them seem comfortable to the untrained eye even. So it's pretty cool how it all works out for me every so often. Your shed is considered a tiny home. Okay, well, call it whatever makes you feel better and what helps you sleep at night. The Vapor Max 2 had the best colorways. I like the Volt colorway the best. Yeah, that one is right over there. I remember the Volt colorway very clearly, purchase wise, because I went to Finish Line in El Paso and I saw it and I was like, hey, because there was some in store discount or whatever going on. I was like, hey, you got these in like my size? Like I didn't really shop there or whatever a whole lot, so I wasn't really sure what they'd have available. And he's like, no, but like we can order them. I'm like, do I still get the same price? He's like, yeah. I'm like, okay. So you want to order them here or to your home? And I'm like, wow, this is so convenient. So I had them ordered to my home from right there within the store. Got the same exact prices they would have been in the store. It was very cool how that whole thing worked out. So again, going back to the finding the deals and stuff thing, sometimes, and I went through this whole thing with those Cowboys 97s, Air Max 97s that I bought for my dad a couple years ago. If you're in the store, throw the question out there if they don't have your size in the store, like, hey, can you order these? Or at least sometimes they can maybe tell you where they are, like in your city area or whatever. But just ask them if they'll order it for you, because sometimes they will, right? Unless things have changed, I don't know, but something to consider, right? Worst that happens is they say no. Okay, this right here, right? So I wore these at some point in the uh, almost to the middle of November because it was around the time when it was like not I won't say the anniversary, but Eddie Guerrero had passed away like several years ago on that day or whatever. And these remind me of some boots that he used to wear, wrestling boots that he used to wear a lot, right? So it's like, you know what, I'm gonna wear those. And they're one of my more like pairs of the Air Max Plus, because as I've said many times, for those who have been paying attention for long enough, I really like this sort of fiery sunset colorway or the tiger stripe thing, whatever you want to call it. I'm a fan of it, right? And so this one is just black where it's got like the little flame sort of look to it. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna break these out. Even on the tips of the laces, they got that. See that? You see that? You can see that. Yeah. So that's going on there, and that's pretty all right. So I'm a big fan of these. I'm a big fan of the Air Max Plus, right? So when I see an Air Max Plus, I'm like, oh, I'm already kind of inclined to like it. And when they put out a good colorway, it's like, wow, fantastic. I get that I don't say that with a whole lot of feeling behind it, but it is me at the end of the day. I don't have a whole lot of feeling behind most things. Let's move that over there. Keep this train moving. Let's see. I'd love to continue bothering, but I have to take the wife out. All right, well, you guys have fun. You know, hopefully you're going shed shopping or whatever. Maybe get to like an actual like better one, move up to like guest house type status perhaps. I don't know. But let me know how it works out. Have a good night and all that good stuff. This is the undefeated Air Max 90 in optic yellow. So there's an undefeated thing on the back. There's an undefeated thing on the front. I assume this is an undefeated thing. I honestly don't know. I'm guessing it is because I don't really know much about the brand. Also, they came with these extra laces, yellow laces, as you can see. So when these came out, I thought, well, this could be interesting, right? Because I like black and yellow. It's part of the whole Iowa thing, right? I'm an Iowa guy. I don't know if anybody knows that or not. But I saw that and I was like, well, this should be fine, right? And I was able to get a pair through Nike.com whenever the release happened. And then I noticed that, like later that day, that these were released on some other site. I guess maybe the Undefeated site. Either way, wherever else they were just there, ready to be bought in a variety of colors. I think there was a total of 3. So apparently people weren't super into these, but the quality of them is actually like really nice as far as the leather guns and stuff goes. But I think it's just one of those things that maybe they were just too plain for a lot of people, or maybe it's just like the timing and there was other stuff coming out that day. I don't know what the situation was. I honestly don't care because in the end, I was able to get the one that I wanted without any extra effort. And isn't that all that matters? Isn't it? So, so those are only one fire worth of fire, is what he's saying. So again, talking to EW, like, I don't know, I need to know what you guys' scales are like, so I can know where these actually rank. Okay, broke out a pair of 12s for some reason. So this is a grade school pair, right? You can tell because the pink, I guess, right? Kind of like I said about those digital pink Vapor Max 3s. which have a different VaporMax bottom than the VaporMax 2020, contrary to what somebody in the chat thought. So this right here, right? Back in the olden days, I used to see a lot of grade school release Jordan 12s constantly, right? They were just always happening. Same with the fives. I saw a lot of fives as well back in 2017, 2016. I don't know what happened, but that well has run dry and I just don't see it anymore. And when I do see it, it's like something that is straight up made for a child, right? It's like got some like weird drawings on the sides and crayons. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that's definitely not for me. Not to be confused like those Wings 5s, which also have crayon drawings, but it's different, right? Because that's a man, an adult shoe. This right here, though, this was a little kid's one, but I figured if I can fit it, I'm going to get it. And that's what happened. So now here they are for however much they were, which is probably 160 because that seems to be around where grade school shoes are. But yeah, I really like these a whole lot. Wore them with a Bret Hart shirt, I think, right? Because, you know, Bret Hart was a big pink and black kind of guy. I met him a couple months ago during SummerSlam weekend in Nashville, Tennessee. So that was a cool thing to mark off the list. If I can ever meet Shawn Michaels, I will have met pretty much all the wrestlers that I really would care to meet. I did see him at the airport during WrestleMania 2016. I think it was 2016. Might have been 2015. But, you know, he was carrying this huge bag and he's on his way to somewhere. And I was like, I'm not hunting him down to talk to him. So, also, these came out in November, right? Now, was it this one? I think it was the other one. I did get a bunch of stuff on these because I accidentally like hit my foot on like a tire or something, and there's a huge black mark. So I was trying to clean it off. I'm not good at cleaning up shoes or whatever because I generally don't have to worry about that. But needless to say, like it wasn't a great moment. But either way, I broke these out because this is the Megabyte Saucony Shadow 6000, right? So Megabyte, because you know it's built off of like old computer stuff, so it's got like the computer keyboard style in the middle. It's got like the keyboard or the old school computer colors, whatever. I wore these to like my graduation for my bachelor's degree or whatever because I do computer stuff. It was a computer degree thing, you know. It just made sense. So this is what I went with. And then it just sucked that they kind of got a little messed up during the weekend. So I do need to kind of like look into cleaning them up or whatever, because every so often people ask me like, hey, how do you clean your shoes? It's like usually I'm just like super careful, you know, but every so often something happens, and so then I have to clean them. But normally I don't know. It's I think before this one, I think the last time I really needed to like clean a pair of shoes was like 2019 with my semi-frozen yellow 350s. So it doesn't happen often, not at all. And moving along. So this right here, this is the Air Max Pre-Day. A lot of people were talking about these, kind of talking them up and whatnot early last year when they released and everything. And I was like, well, I do like Air Maxes. I bought 5 pairs of Air Maxes in February of this year so I could do a review a week through March, right, for Air Max month. And this was one of the 5. And I didn't really care for it, you know? It's just not my thing. Like, they feel a little extra bouncy in the back, which I get some people might be into, but I wasn't. And then just like the way the material is, this one doesn't really do it so much, but like it kind of makes this like weird crackling type of bending sound like when you're walking in them because it's kind of like a stiff sort of material. I think it just goes away over time, but I didn't really care for that. The color is nice, this kumquat and pomegranate as they call it. But yeah, overall, like comparing this to the Air Max Dawn, I prefer the Dawn more. I compare those two because they're visually, as far as like overall silhouette, fairly similar, right? The Dawn doesn't have as visible of an air bubble. It's almost like this part is just kind of more filled in. Kind of like when you look at like the Air Max 200, I think, something like that. But yeah, it's not terrible. I'm not going to sit here and talk down on it. It's just, to me, I'd rather buy a different Air Max, but if I was stuck with these, I think I'd still be okay. So take that for what it's worth. All right, moving along. Trying to try not to keep this camera unfocused, but what is it? Remember back when like the Nike things used to come with these printed out papers showing you what you ordered? Yeah, I guess that was a thing back in what was this 2017. I don't think there are a lot of Air Max Zero fans, and I get it because there aren't a lot of Air Max Zero shoes. But I usually wear these around like Thanksgiving or something like that because they kind of make me think of fall, and Thanksgiving and fall kind of go hand in hand, right? So it's the Air Max Zero. It even says up there on the front, right? So it's kind of a cool design. You know, it's like this whole one big piece upper sort of thing, kind of like what you see on like a lot of the Ultra Boost and stuff like that. Still have your nice air midsole back there and all that. So they're pretty cool and everything as far as comfort. They're solid, right? But I think it's just a model that people just don't care about because they sure don't make a lot of them. I mean, I can't even think of the last Air Max Zero that I saw personally because I bought this one that year, and I want to say 2017 was the year I also got the Air Max Zero Dornbeckers. Remember? Maybe you remember those? They kind of looked like a globe because they had green and blue for like the water, you know. Because whoever made them, Chase Sorensen or something like that, he was a fan of lighthouses, so he made them like kind of like a lighthouse sort of vibe. I don't remember the full details or whatever, but it's look it up if you're curious. Not on my channel because I don't have a review of those. The only time the Air Max Zeros have made any appearances outside of like right now would be 2020 Air Max Day when I went through my whole Air Max collection, which was that took forever. Like, and I started late at night too, which was not ideal. And I think I needed to record like 9 different videos or something because I broke them up into different collections. Yeah, it was. And then you get a whole bunch of shoes out, do the video, put all those away, get the next batch, do the whole thing. Yeah, I was releasing videos all night that night. This is the what is this? This is the Ultra Boost Cold Ready 19, I think. Okay, they don't have the 19 on there, but it's structured like a 19. So also these do have that sort of like utility style lacing, right? Where it's got like a little switch and all that stuff so you can kind of lock them in. But they do also come with these, right? Which is the thing that they started doing later on the Yeezy releases for like 350s and such. Or if you didn't want the infinity style thing, you could go with normal lacing. But in this particular case, I don't think there's a way to take these off without damaging them either. So I guess you got to really know like which ones do you want. But either way, I wore these because I had to go out to Iowa and I wanted something that was going to be decent for the potential snow and rain or whatever that can happen around this time of year. And so I went with these because again, I also like to have comfort, right? And I had just worn my Air Max 97s, so I couldn't wear those because I had just worn them, right? I got to keep the rotation going. And it's so as you see, water repellent, right? Maybe you remember, cold ready, as it says over there. They got like some insulation on the inside. It's really good for what it's made to do and all that stuff, right? So it worked out for me pretty well. And I guess that's the end of that. Also, on the bottom, they do have like a slightly different outsole than you would see on your typical Ultra Boost shoes, right? It's a little more rugged. So it does help give you a little bit of extra traction if you're going to be going out running around in these in the snow and whatnot. It should work out decently for you. So there we go. Are these in the shot? Kind of, sort of. Let's see. There we go. So now let's go ahead and keep things moving. This right here also broke these out for that particular trip. So they kind of reminded me of like my middle school that I went to out there, right? If anybody's familiar with Davenport, Iowa, maybe you know which one I'm talking about. But either way, I broke these things out. It's one of the ones I do like a fair amount. I got these somewhat early, but I didn't realize it was early when I bought them. It was just sometimes those UK releases are they can be a little early ahead of like the US ones. And then when I didn't see them, I was like, wait, maybe these weren't released everywhere. And then like a little while later, I saw them sitting around a lot of shelves. But if you like Air Max 90s, which I'm okay with, they're not like my favorite of the Air Max model, but I do like Safari print. I'm a big fan of the Safari print, so that's why I got these. I would prefer this had been like an Air Max 1 perhaps, or one of the other Air Maxes that I do actually really like. But again, I got no complaints about the 90s. I just don't like them more than like the pluses or the 98s or the ones, 97s are also pretty high up. The 2009s were really good. The 2010s were also really good. There's a lot of Air Maxes the Air Max 2 Plus, or the Air Max 2 Lite, I really like those. Not a huge fan of like the Air Max Plus 2. The 3 is kind of cool in some ways, but still has a weird look to it. Moving along. So these right here, this is the Ultra Boost DNA 22, right? And they build this as a trail shoe, at least on the thing. Oh, wait, am I missing something? The Air Maxes. Okay, so he likes the Air Maxes and he wants those. I don't blame you. So this right here, according to Adidas, was built as a trail shoe, right? The Ultra Boost DNA 22. I mean, I see it's got like a sort of a different sort of sole on it that you would generally find on a pair of, Ultra Boost shoes or whatever. So I get that. The upper, it's got like this sort of a plasticky sort of layer over what is seemingly primed it under it, right? So what you see up here goes through the shoe. You can kind of tell like it's got a texture to it. But then just like within there, you kind of see little clips of it, right? But overall, the shoe just doesn't feel all that great, right? It's a bit of a loose sort of feel. I thought maybe it's just like the socks I was wearing, but it really just comes down to like the build of it. It's almost like when you have those Ultra Boost Woodstock shoes or like the Nice Kicks ones where they were a little more loose than your standard build. So that's kind of how these felt. And the other thing that's also weird about them is like you don't see a lot of Ultra Boosts that have like a tongue on them, right? So I think the last one that had a tongue was the Uncaged Lab, which was weird because it was like one of the Uncaged. But yeah, so it was just like very strange release. I thought that maybe they would bring out more colors, but I've seen the same this one, black one, and the gray one, and they're all on some pretty deep discounts last I checked. So if you're looking for something, I mean, I guess it's cheap and you can get it, sure, whatever. But I would just save your money for mostly anything else. Maybe go buy some concert tickets or something. I don't know. But this is just, I don't hate it, but I just can't really recommend it because for what it's made to do, there are so many things that do that better, right? Trail shoe wise. I've got a whole playlist of trail shoes if you're really interested in that. Or you can leave some kind of comment or whatever and I'll respond to it. But moving along past that, let's see what's in this last box. They kind of mid-loc. What? I don't know what's going on there. Okay, so moving along, this right here. This is what I closed the month out with because I remembered after wearing those others, the 22s, I was thinking, I don't really care for those, but let me wear something else that I also didn't care for and see how that feels now. Because sometimes your mind changes over the course of months, years, whatever. So I broke this out. This is the Ultra Boost DNA 6.0. And oh my God, like I didn't really care for it when I got them and when I was doing like the initial review and all that stuff. And I thought maybe I just remember them being worse than they were. So I wore them and no, like they are actually like pretty bad. Because here's the thing, right? This cage, especially compared to the last one, this thing is freaking stiff. You might as well be made out of steel, right? Because it is solid and it cuts into your feet, like right here. And I kind of mentioned that during the video, I would think. And given that this is like a prime knit upper, anything that's happening on the outside of your foot, you're going to feel it on the inside, right? Because it's basically just a fancy sock, right? So the cage sucks. You can probably cut the cage off or whatever. That's how people used to make the original shoes, like the original Ultra Boost. They would cut them off to be kind of like uncaged because they like the cageless version. I get it. And it's probably like the thing to do here. But yeah, it's not great. And then up here, this part right here, like the way they did these ridges, that's not great either because it really hugs your foot, right? Again, the whole sock thing. But it also digs into the side in a way that is not at all comfortable, right? I mean, you can kind of tell maybe that that's a little stiff in there. I don't know. Maybe it's not really showing up, but it's a little stiff on those, right? On these edges. So having that digging into the side of your ankle, it's also not great. I had kind of high hopes for these because they looked cool in the pictures. It was a nice color and all that good stuff. And even once I got them, like I stand by it that this upper is one of the best feeling Ultra Boost uppers that I've seen. And they have the prime blue instead of like the prime green that they were doing at the time, which I think is, from what I recall, was part of the reason that this upper felt different. But yeah, like I was thinking that these would be really nice, and then I put them on and they were just really bad. So, I mean, if I'm gonna wear these again, I'm gonna have to definitely remember that whole thing about the sock situation, and maybe wear some thicker ones or something to kind of help deal with that. But at the same time, because these things are already built like a sock, you don't have a lot of room on the inside to wear thicker socks because then they're gonna feel a little weird, right? The prime knit will stretch over time and kind of conform to all that, but whatever. Also, while we're talking about it, when you look at a lot of these DNAs, like they're kind of built off like the past Ultra Boost releases. So like around the front, you have like the one style, right? And then like and the two style and all that good stuff. Then you have like the three in the middle with like the lines and like the four with like the dots, right? So that's kind of how the design is actually structured here. So there's just that for you because I think it's like one and then two on the side, right? Because the ones had the heart. Yeah, the ones had the heart at the top, so that's how that was. So I may have said it backwards, but you probably know what I meant. But yeah, so there's that. Let's see, what is that even saying? For some reason, there's a thing that's held for review. It says, "Have a good day, man." I'm not sure why your comment was not going through at first, but it did now. But yeah, so like I was saying, that's the last one. Like I was saying, just kind of finishing up some of the rambling I was doing between things. Over the years of like buying all these shoes and stuff, like the whole regrets and whatnot, one of the things like you get to the point, and I was talking about this with like the 350 thing a while ago, where it almost becomes like a little game of like, can you get something like when you know that it's going to be like mildly limited? And so then you kind of want it for that reason, just to see like if you can do it. Because like when I was buying all those 350s, that's kind of how that went. You know, I was like, oh, this is kind of cool, right? And then you know it's not going to be a necessarily easy thing to get, but you want to see like, can you get it? Because I had a pretty solid 350 streak going, right? I don't know if who watches 350 videos, but if you followed me in that endeavor, you saw a lot of them, right? Like a whole lot of them. So part of it was because I do like the way they feel, most of them, not those mists and there's something else that I didn't really care for, I think. Maybe it's just those. Visually though, then it definitely like wavers. But yeah, so I would get into the whole thing like, oh, okay, let's see if I can make this happen. And then I'd get them and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And then I'd see what they look like in person. Because especially with those, you don't know what you're going to get until you actually see it. But then, you go and you start wearing all the different things and kind of goes into like another piece that was kind of cool about having a lot of stuff is like, or maybe it's not a good thing, but it can be a little contagious to like the people around you. Because I have friends at work or whatever that will like buy other things, whatever, because like they see me wearing it or talking about it or whatever. And then like they buy something like, hey, check these out. I'm like, oh man, those are pretty cool. Like one of my good friends at work, he buys new ASICS shoes pretty regularly, brings those in, wearing them, talking about them and stuff. So it's kind of cool. And even like my family that doesn't buy a whole lot, but like they express enough interest to let me know that they would like to have something that's similar to what I have, and I'll send them a pair or something. So yeah, it definitely like gets around to other people. So that's kind of one of the cool things, I guess, in some ways, like gives you something to talk about, right? Because all the things that I wear, like even if it's not like actual shoe people, when I like see them or whatever, somebody often will say like, "Oh, that's kind of cool." It might be somebody who doesn't really like look at these things on a regular basis. It's just like if you see like the right color, the right look, or whatever, some people just be like, "Oh, wow, like well, I don't know what's going on down there. That's pretty cool." Which is actually the same thing that got me into this whole thing in the very first place with the whole Jordan 12 thing. Crazy how that works, right? But anyways, so that's going to be it for me. I've rambled on longer than I kind of planned to, according to this little counter here that says 49 minutes. Because I try to keep these things a little bit shorter than that, but only by a few minutes. But hey, I'm a little out of practice. and I was talking to BX and stuff. So it is what it is. I just try to keep these things in a way that like people can just kind of watch them as if they were normal uploads that I haven't been doing in a while, rather than it being like a live where I'm just constantly like stopping to talk to everybody. I'll acknowledge everything everybody says, yes, but I do know that some people watch this stuff after the fact, so I try to just treat it like an actual video. From me to you, have a nice rest of your day or rest of your night, whatever it is, wherever you are. Thanks for stopping in. It's always appreciated to see the guys coming in here saying whatever they have on their minds or whatever. But for now, some of us have to get to a turnover concert, so that should be a good time. Their most recent album, I'm not sure how I feel about it yet, but the three before that, solid, definitely solid. So check them out if you've never heard of them. I mean, you might not like it depending on what kind of music you do or don't like, but turnover, all one word. It's something worth checking out. Later, people. Where's the end button on this thing? There we go.